He stared at the clock as the seconds ticked away, the glowing numbers on the screen haunting him like a countdown to something irreversible. 11:55 p.m. He had 5 minutes left to save everything his grandfather had built, from the century-old farmhouse to the acres of maple trees passed down through generations. The lawyer's voice echoed in his mind. The will clearly states, if the grandson is unmarried by midnight on July 15th, the estate reverts to the state. No exceptions, no extensions. He'd thought he had time, thought he could figure it out. But here he was, alone in a flannel shirt, the summer night far too quiet around him, about to lose the only home he'd ever known. Nathan Hayes had never believed in fairy tales, nor had he expected to meet a wife overnight. He was the kind of man who worked with his hands, chopped his own wood, fixed his own truck. After his parents died in an accident when he was 20, he'd stayed behind in the small Ontario town of Elmsbrook, raising his younger sister and keeping the family maple business alive. But money was tight. Buyers were pulling out. He'd pinned his last hope on the inheritance. And now, that hope was slipping away, minute by minute. He stood by the kitchen window, staring out into the darkness, when he heard it, a knock on the door. Soft, hesitant. He turned toward it, heart thudding. Then it came again. 11:59. He walked to the door, not daring to hope, and opened it. There she stood, rain in her hair, suitcase in hand, and eyes full of something between exhaustion and purpose. "I'm here," she said quietly. "If you still want a wife." "Emily," he whispered, blinking in disbelief. She nodded. He hadn't seen her in 5 years. Not since she packed up and left town after college, chasing a dream that took her far from maple trees and snowy mornings. She had been his first love, his only love, and when she left without a goodbye, he'd built walls he never planned to tear down. "I got your sister's message," she said, her voice trembling. "She told me everything. That you could lose the farm, that you needed someone. I don't know why, but my heart wouldn't let me stay away." He looked at her, struggling to understand. "Why would you come back? After all these years?" "Because I never stopped caring," she said. "Because I was scared back then. And stupid. And I thought I had to choose between love and dreams. But standing out there, about to let you lose everything, it hit me. My dreams were always tied to you, Nathan." The old clock on the mantel chimed midnight. She took a breath and held out her hand. "If you'll still have me, I'll be your wife. For real. Not just for a signature." Something in him cracked. Years of pain, of missing her, of holding on to bitterness, fell away in that moment. He took her hand and pulled her into his arms. They called the lawyer at 12:03 a.m. He answered, groggy but amused, and confirmed that as long as they were married before midnight, the estate would remain in Nathan's name. And he assured them, when he heard the vows had been said and witnessed by the sleepy town notary who lived next door, that everything would be legally binding. But for Nathan and Emily, the paper didn't matter as much as the look they shared over coffee that morning as the sun rose over the fields. There were challenges ahead. They didn't pretend otherwise. Rebuilding trust wouldn't be easy. She had a life in Toronto she'd left behind, and he had roots too deep to ever leave. But now they had a reason to try. They had a second chance. They spent that day walking the fields, hand in hand, laughing like they hadn't in years. She listened as he talked about the farm, the land, the struggles. He listened as she talked about the city, the loneliness, the emptiness of chasing something that never felt whole. And that night, as fireflies danced outside their window, Emily rested her head on Nathan's shoulder and whispered, "It wasn't just the farm I came to save. It was us." The story of Nathan and Emily soon spread across Elmsbrook like wildfire, of how love showed up with 1 minute to spare, and how sometimes, just sometimes, the heart remembers its way home. Because sometimes, a knock at the door isn't just a knock. Sometimes, it's everything.